Thanks all of you for being here. I'm Roz Dimon. My husband, James Dawson, is helping out here, and I want to thank the Shelter Island Library for sponsoring this, and for Sarah Garcia, who has just been wonderful helping every step of the way, and also to St. Mary's. So it's nice to have this kind of community support, and thanks for coming out on this cold, wintry day. Did you say Uzbekistan? It was last winter, feeling about, well, you know, it's really cold like it is right now, and I'm just kind of positioning ourselves in community. I'm out in my studio. My studio looks out on the Michon Preserve, and I'm very fortunate to have that kind of view. And I'm out there just working in my studio and, you know, watching the birds and just loving this place. And the fact that it's just so close to New York City. So just putting us in our locale right now. I've just been to the city, my sister Boo and James, and my other favorite place besides Shelter Island. And I'm on Zoom. I do really live in two places. That's why I always bring up community, especially with this kind of talk. I live here on this earth physically, but ever since my paintings filled with pixels and squares when I drove my Volkswagen from Georgia up to New York City, I lived online, and that's a whole other world, and I certainly didn't anticipate it. I'm not a technologist, so this just sort of interrupted my world, but as you can see here, yes, I'm in the Mashomic, but I'm also right there in my computer with two monitors, and often, not often, but a lot of the time online, and at least several times a week with other communities, besides the poetry group, which I'm a part of here in Shelter Island and love. But there's another group I'm a part of called Expressionism, and this group started out here, and I've just taken a call from a woman who's telling me, yes? Oh, can you not see? Yeah, I tend to stand right in front of my paintings.
No.
But see?
You know what? I would like you to come sit right over here. And you go back
it's
to
like
where
if you buy one of my paintings, you have to paint your walls red or something. You know, it's not the other way. Like
one more seat.
Okay. So anyway,
but
the director's always right.
She's not blocking your view.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Anyway, for posterity, we have to have it on Zoom because some people really wanted to come and couldn't. But this call came from a friend who I've shown with in New York for years, and she's been in the forefront of digital media as well as a painter, and she's part of this group called Expressionism, which is another community I have where I meet with them every month since COVID when this group started. And the interesting thing about this community, which sponsored this show that went to Uzbekistan, that Cynthia is inviting me to, is that we actually had a show out here, and it derives from this area. It comes from the abstract expressionist kind of movement, where our founder, Colin Goldberg, was a resident there, and Helen Harrison, who some of you may have heard of. She's written for the New York Times, art critic, she's written books, and she is one of our advisors who said, you know, Expressionism, it's a group of artists not necessarily bound by a style, but by an approach to a world that is being dominated by technology and digital media. Anyway, one of our shows was out at the Southampton Art Center, and it was per Dan's paper, like the thing to see in 2022. Another was in Brooklyn, New York, and these are some of the artists I'm showing with, and Cynthia is there, who's, one of my pieces was there. It's all about, this is a piece where you actually go inside the painting and immerse inside the painting, which there's several pieces like that, even here at the History Center, which some of you know about, called the Diamondscape. It's about gun violence. Here's Barry Allen, who lives here, and I'm just showing her interacting. This is a show by this group, Expressionism. And speaking of community, I actually did a show with them in cyberspace, and it was very exciting, where we each built our gallery space, and we went inside using our directional arrows and had an opening there, and we all had galleries, and it was really a very exciting place. So that's another, like, talk about living in the digital world. This is going pretty deep into it. But let's get back to the topic. Cynthia calls me and says, Roz, I'm curating this show, and I'm only inviting 10 artists out of Expressionism, which has now grown to be over like 150 artists in 45 countries in the world. So when I get on with this group, we're all speaking from different countries and their topics, and it's been a wonderful group. But she said, look, I want you to be part of this show. And she said, I'm only taking 9 other artists, and if you say yes, you have to come with me. She goes, because I'm not hanging this show in Uzbekistan. by myself. And these artists like Cynthia, they've been heads of digital departments, and they've been all over the world with SIGGRAPH and other international digital exhibition conferences for years. So they have all these connections, and she had a connection in Uzbekistan with the director of the Contemporary Art Museum of Uzbekistan. So I was like, wow. Uzbekistan. She says, no, it's Uz. Can everybody say Uz? It is Uzbekistan, and it's a hot place, as it turns out. And one of my collectors, I was like, well, I'm going to Uzbekistan. She went, oh, Roz, I've already been. I'm like, well, and the Tashkent market in New York City is now, if you haven't been, it's just, there's one in Brooklyn, one in New York, and it's, on the New York one is 8th Street and 6th Avenue, and it is like fabulous produce with things that are from Uzbekistan, but also other places. But it's just, if you don't have a Tashkent like bag, you're not cool. All right. Anyway, just showing you where Uzbekistan is, and we're talking about in the old Silk Road. I immediately got some books out and read about it. But it's really, here's Russia, or what is it called? Yeah, Russia now. But the old USSR. And here's where we flew to Urganch. We flew into Tashkent, actually, which is capital, and then went to Urganch. But just kind of giving you a perspective, it's in the middle of all the stands. I remember that New Yorker cartoon many years ago with all the stands on it, and it's right in here. So I asked James, I said, would you want to come with me? And he's like my other half with almost everything I do. And he said, yeah, let's go. So I immediately, this is after February, we started getting online with the other 10 artists and talking to each other about this trip we were all going to take together. It was a real bonding experience. I just thought I'd show just to, how big it is. It's like 3 times larger than New York State. And it's an interesting, I just looked up things. I'm not an expert on Uzbekistan, but at least I know how to say it now. Uzbekistan. But it's an interesting country. 70% of the country is under 30 years old. Wow. So it has a freshness, even though as I read about it, it has been independent since the 90s, after the Iron Curtain lifted. And it's predominantly Muslim. But I have to say, being there, I didn't feel any sort of oppression of any kind, of any kind of religious oppression. And I felt like there were grandmothers and other people, some of the women were wearing the hijab and stuff, but a lot weren't. And there was a freshness and a kind of openness and a wonder. And I have read in Forbes that this country is rich in minerals. And so it's being paid attention to. And people are going there. And honestly, the exchange rate is unbelievable. Population 37.4 million. It's a presidential constitutional republic. When we went into the director's office to drink tea, this is how you drink it. That's how I drink my tea every day now. It's kind of wonderful because you remember the country when you do it. And it's got the pomegranate, which is one of their major symbols. Where was I? Yeah, I'm getting old.
You went into the director's office.
Director's office. Well, yes. And the president's, the picture of the president was on the wall. I mean, nobody went in and bowed to him or anything, but he was just kind of there. But she had a lot of paintings, and he was kind of in the back. But obviously, you have to salute to him. And I've read that there has been some repressive. It hasn't been the most open society, but it certainly feels like one when you're there, and you certainly feel safe. All right, I'm on the plane. We're on Uzbekistan Air, which was really great. It was very comfortable. And I have to say that, when the steward, when you get the hostess thing about, where you sit and the video comes down, and in America, they're so boring, actually, when I saw this one. And this is actually what they show. They go, you're going to be flying to Uzbekistan on the highest steed we have available, well, camel. Camels come up and they're going across the steppes. And I'm like, this is wild, And then the next picture, it said, and now your flight jackets will come down. And I was like, whoa, it was just, as an artist, I loved it. Some creative director really was having fun with this one. So this is my first thing. I hadn't even gotten there yet, and I was like, wow, I feel like I already know something about the Silk Road.
The colors are
and we finally get to Urganch. We landed in Tashkent and took another flight, and we were a few of us were all flying together. So there were about 8 of us. Another guy from London met us there. And one thing we noticed, we arrived in the evening, and over all the major intersections were these huge light displays. And I think they come from, and James said yes, that I think they come from the USSR time, maybe it was to make people feel gay and happy when they really weren't. But it's very festive and just unusual. They're huge. I mean,
They're
really
literally suspended over the intersection. So
Yeah.
there's cars down there, and
Yeah.
they're all over.
Yeah. Here's our fabulous hotel.
Castle.
They have a real contemporary style going. We were at the Grand Castle Hotel, and it was this pretty expensive one. But it was about, I'd say, like $90 a night. I mean, really nice hotel, really nice. But of course, across the street. Yes, right across the street. I could not believe it. I could not. It's like, and one night we actually had to order there because we got home late and we just, James went over. We're not sure what kind of bird we were eating, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But I just get such a kick out of this. I mean, look, this is our cultural influence, but, all my work, for people who followed it, I look back and it's all been about America. Wall Street, money, Jesus, Lincoln, Roosevelt. I mean, seriously, it all is about, and Coca-Cola and all the products. So I got such a kick out of this. I was just, wow, you can't escape it. We're walking on the way to the museum every day, which is only a mile and a half away, which is one reason we picked this hotel, so we could just walk there. And we went through this sort of circus art festival part of the city, and apparently it's with, they have a newfound, not wealthy wealth, but you can tell there's an excitement of being connected to the world, and they have these amusement parks that are just fun places for them to take their kids.
And very young society.
Yeah, very young society. As I said, it's, 70% are under 30. Cynthia, who got me into this whole thing, I kept blaming her. Wonderful person, Cynthia Rubin. We would talk on the way over to the museum every day. Just gives you a sense of the kind of the fauna around us. And we had to hang. We were hanging the show. We stayed in our bench for about a week, and we decided we would help hang the show. And this is the front of the museum, which is the old post office. It's a big building, and they've got lots of traditional Russian and Ukrainian art, some really gorgeous pieces. And it's big, with big rooms. We had a space, I mean, this is a beautiful space, and ours was still a little bit bigger than this. But you can see the beautiful kind of Islamic decor. And yet there are other things, the sidewalk, it's kind of a mix of old USSR kind of drab, big stone Federalist kind of buildings with all this lovely kind of embroidery and stuff going on around it. Here I am, we're getting ready to hang the show, and we had to really think about our art, how to get it there, yes?
You notice on the ground, there's a thing on the ground. That's not part of the show, but what they did at this museum is they put big, huge plastic things that people could walk on the floor, advertising the next show in the gallery.
And I thought it was also for corporate advertising.
Yes, corporate sponsors too. So if you were a sponsor, you would have this big plastic thing on the ground that people would walk on to advertise your technology company, your phone company.
It's something you would never see in Chelsea, but we had to deal. We just had to deal with the situation. I actually decided when I was asked to be in this, I thought, I've been working on these pieces. They're all about male testosterone on football, and imagine that being on my mind. I can't imagine why. But sports it became very interested to me, and I thought, how am I going to mail these over there? We found that we got into a lot of problems even a few months before mailing our things, that the tariff situation that Trump has implemented, it's affecting so many things. And it also just was holding up things at the post office, huge things. So I was lucky I sent mine early. But what I decided to do was put it on a banner, very high-end kind of banner with Brahmas on them. And I like the kind of fun, sportsy look of it. It should be a little tighter and a little brighter, but thanks, James. He's doing the best he can. But I thought I'd just bring one to show you. And I had, it got there, and you just have to think about how you're going to transport things. I'm also going with this group to Paris next year. I'm already thinking about how I'm going to ship something there. Some of the pieces didn't get there until like the day before. Here's the group. You really bond with a group of artists when you're hanging a show together. And I know these people, some of them from way back, some I didn't. Here we are in the museum, putting things up.
See the ads on the ground? They're still there.
Working with the museum staff, and it's like you can see, this is a nice big room. We each had quite a bit of space. And someone had spouses. James was often going off to get nails the nails had to be able to go through the poster board, the wall board that they put up, And James went and got these nails, and they were great, but we found out why they only had these little short nails. It's because it would run into, right behind it, literally an eighth of an inch behind the poster board, or plaster board, is just massive post office concrete walls. So we were at times actually taking little nails with the assistants and hammering out the dents from the last show and getting them straight. And I mean, it was that kind of thing where you bond out of just pure suffering. Here I am in front of two of the pieces. This one over here is how a Martian views football on the left, and this is called The New World View. Fred, get out of my way, on the right. This isn't just about art, but the art was a big part of it, so I'm sharing that with you. This is Sharon Tashova, director of the museum. She was very helpful. And she would always say, we'd be working in the museum and doing things, and she'd say, no, we must go to lunch and have plov. That is the main meal. So she would plan these things. But the main thing she would always plan is tea. Everybody drinks tea there all the time. So she would say, no, come back to my office. These are other pieces that she's hung from other shows she's had there. So this was the place. And you can see the teapot's always there, and we had our little bowls, and that's why I got one of these to bring back. Here's the whole group. All right, we're getting ready to open. Here's the assistants. They were wonderful. And they're design students. I have to tell you that they tried really hard, but we're control freaks, especially this group of artists, and being in tech and design, they're all top designers and artists, and they learned so much from us, and they were so appreciative, and we loved working with them. And you can see that the two women are wearing a headscarf. So the opening went up. Here's the sign in front of the museum, and this is the online that we put out to everybody across the world, inviting them. One of our artists is a video artist. He put this together. So it's always physical and online. We're these two worlds. Here's the opening. See, quite a few people attended, and look how young they are. We had people like the local mayor, and we had several video groups there. Just going to show you a few pictures of the opening. Here's some young women looking at the football paintings.
Notice they're not wearing headdresses or anything.
They're not, and they're just the sweetest, cutest, liveliest bunch.
All the students spoke excellent English.
Yeah, thanks, James.
More so than the older people.
Yeah, like Sharon really had a hard time. We always had our translator, and we'd be talking to Sharon about things.
What's the native language?
Excuse me?
What's the native language?
Uzbek.
It is Uzbeki, but they also speak Russian Cyrillic and Russian whatever the other thing is. So they all speak Russian. So if you can't translating and other things, sometimes we would look at our translator for Russian because they don't even list Uzbeki. So, but that was the common.
And the young men and women, these are mostly just from the women's school, but the young university students were really proud to be wearing this white and black uniform because only the very privileged students got to go there, and they were required to learn English. That's why they were so excited about coming to this show and meeting Roz. So you can see
art. I mean, they were excited about the art.
Oh, well, you can see. Look at
training, always training.
Look at all these pictures with all these young ladies.
But they were really they loved it that we had Instagram and we immediately were sharing with each other. And I love when I get people at my shows here, but I don't ever get any kind of response like this. It's just like, James, get a picture. But it was really fun. We all enjoyed it, and we're really surprised by how many came to the reception. Medical students from the university thing, and James had a few missions for some of the university students. Besides getting nails and hammers and things that we sometimes needed, do you want to tell that story, or I'll tell it?
Well, you can buy booze in Uzbekistan, but it's in government control.
Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan in government-controlled liquor stores. And two doctorate students from the university literally drove me in their car out of the kindness of their heart to the liquor store and back, so I had some wine for Roz's opening and some vodka. And I left a little vodka in their car for them because they needed some study aids.
And they didn't even let him pay. I mean, he could barely.
They wouldn't let me pay him.
So generous.
They were really generous.
And they always say, this with their heart, like, yes, with my heart, I thank you. And of course, greeting them, I'm glad I've done some study in interfaith ministry, is that I knew right away, like, assalamu alaikum, and they would say malaikum assalam back, which, God's peace be with you and also with you. And that was a nice thing to know, and it's such a beautiful thing to say to each other on the street. And it always makes me think about America, where we go, "Hey, how you doing?" Well, I want to kill myself, but I'm fine. I really think that it's something that if our spiritual lives, I now, especially as I'm getting older, I just say, instead of "how are you doing," I'm trying to train myself to say, "It's good to see you," because it's just a nice way to recognize someone without putting them on the spot. Anyway, here's Cynthia, who this is a hand design thing. We're getting into other parts of Uzbekistan, but just showing you the National Guard came. Here's another view of the show. Okay, at night, the fun things we were doing, going out to dinner at night. I mean, look at the glitz of this. This is outside one of the restaurants. And here are some of us, the artists with Sharon, James and I in the front. We went to this place and had a 3-course dinner, delicious, dessert, wine for some of us. And I remember I said to Sharon, "Wow, how much is this going to be?" And she said, 3 million som, S-O-M, that's their exchange. And I said, "Ooh," and she said, "Everybody pay $10. And we were like, "Yay!" We're all artists, like, great, But it really is a really amazing exchange rate, even still. So we had a wonderful time. And this whole place, it's 2 floors, and it's filled with families. Just, and having fun and, real gaiety. This is an eggplant dish I particularly like. It's very good. There's James being his modest self. And look at Cynthia. You can tell she's like, James, please.
Yeah, it was definitely overload food. For $10, you were just fed and fed and fed and fed and fed.
Yeah, and I think that Cynthia's having like a bowl of bacon soup or something. And James, here he is outside he's one of my stars of the show. But he's out here in the glamour hall. And you always washed your hands. There would be one restaurant we went into, all the hand basins and stuff it'd be like the bathroom was out right in the hallway. And you would rinse your hands before you even started eating. Here's another James story. We're at Favora.
I think that's enough James stories.
Well, no, but this is a good one. And they realize that he's going to be a spokesperson, and they have a camera, and they say, "Would you mind saying something about our restaurant?" And James says, "Oh, sure, yeah." For Instagram. Yeah, for Instagram. So they put a microphone, and he goes, "Oh, I love this place. I come here all the time." And we're like, but very fun. And they, of course, adored him. And they made him this homemade. While we were eating, made him this homemade bread with the name of the restaurant on the bread. So, and then we gave it actually to our doorman at the building, who was thrilled. Because we thought we were going to eat all this. But I just want to show us having a little bit of fun here. Everybody was dancing. When the Americans got up, I was one of the instigators. So that's the director of the museum. Yeah,
In the middle, yeah.
and they were
On the end.
She's one of the artists'
yeah.
wives. She's a
an
wife.
artist herself, very talented, extremely talented.
As you can see, I was having a hard time keeping up with those two.
And all of us got up and were dancing, and the families there, they loved it. They absolutely, it was a happening. It was a happening, without a doubt. Okay, so we took an excursion to Kiva, which we were in sort of, I would equate it, Urganch is like Pittsburgh. It's an industrial kind of city. Has obviously a beautiful museum, the Contemporary Museum of Uzbekistan's there, but it's not like some of the places which are just the tourist destinations. So one day, there was Sharon arranged for us to go to Kiva, and here we are arriving in Kiva, and it's just one spectacular thing after another. This is how they make their money, so I took a picture of the ticket entry. These are all different mosques and things you can go through. You buy a ticket here.
In an ancient city. In an ancient city.
Yeah, ancient city. Well, ancient, I don't know, is the word ancient Virginia considered like, isn't that like Roman Greco times? I don't know, but anyway, okay. This is what happens though when you're a scholar. Sometimes they go, no, it's not ancient. Okay, but it's old. It's very old.
It's old.
But there are lots. There are little booths everywhere of silk, fabrics, and plates, and beautiful wares. But they still make them all by hand in silk. Just giving you some pictures of some of these gorgeous places. And inside, you can see the people. Beautiful. Called Prayer Tower here. And inside here, it's just the detailing, the Islamic detailing is gorgeous. There's some way for art to always peek out. The whole thing about that you couldn't have pictures in Islamic art, well, I don't know. The calligraphy and the details alone will blow you away. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Just giving you a few pictures here. Of course, we had to get our reporter out, and Ambrose put this in the reporter. We went in September, which was a nice time, because it's getting warmer and warmer there, like other places. So if we had gone earlier, it would have been really hot. We were first going to go, late August. Then we took a trip. We all planned. The show is up. It's up for a month and a half. And some of us decided, let's go to Bukhara. And we got a van, which is probably about $5 each, and a 6-hour drive. And this is what the middle of the steppes of this country are like. It's just tundra and not much, and we'd stop for a little Lehigh Orange or something. So we arrived in Bukhara, but look at this beautiful little hotel. Just gorgeous. And again, not very expensive, but really even nicer than one we had. And I'm just showing you some of the detailing and beauty of this place. And just one mosque after another, and beautiful details. And also you would go in these little enclaves where the students would study away from the sun in this kind of adobe, mud-baked, dark spot where they do their learnings. Detailing the beautiful plates. I brought home a few pillow coverings that I just love. There was also a biennial for the first one in Uzbekistan, in Bukhara. And so amidst all the mosque and things, it was very hard to figure out where the biennial was. But finally, when we started understanding where the mapping was, this was one of the exhibits of the Bukhara biennial, and it's like a huge Tower of Babel of iPhones. Those are all iPhones. And, it just makes such a great commentary on the fact that we're all in these iPhones. I don't know if we're making any sense with each other, but it is really brilliant. So, got a picture of that. This is just, we are in Bukhara, which is really a beautiful historic town. It's all about the mosque, and it's just a beautiful town. This is traditional dance just taking place in the square. People are having tea, stopping for a little break. It's part of the biennial with cups and plates and saucers. I have to say, before we're nearing the end here, but the cats were everywhere. They were just everywhere. And people would put out little saucers, and they, sort of like Istanbul, there are cats everywhere. And also captured some of the wonderful fabric here. This press. Other artists went on to Samarkand and other places. James and I came back here to our beloved community, Shelter Island. We were ready to get home. Anyway, thank you for coming. And please ask any questions. I'm not sure I can answer them, but it was such an adventure from beginning to end. It really was.
How do they relate to your work in particular, especially because there are a number of young men there? The sports element has special appeal to them?
Well, what's interesting is the women were much more crowded around my pieces than the men. Even though I think the men were looking at it, but they seemed more shy about it, perhaps.
Yeah, and they were shy around the independent women.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? They were just The women, I don't know if it's because of the teacher they were with, who I knew, who was really strong.
They do
and spirited.
segregate their classes, even in college.
They what?
There's men and women in different
Yeah.
classes. They have some classes together, the woman told me, and some apart in college.
But I did make clear, and I'll also discuss for a minute about my work a little bit with this, is I always approach things from multiple point of views, even though I come from a certain viewpoint, but I like to look at things from multiple point of views, including the Lincolns. And in these pieces, actually, I am talking about male testosterone, but as my husband's been watching more football, I've been taking pictures just off the screen of the football, because it's so crazy, and the colors and the people, and I have all these pictures, and I just started thinking about how, the energy that is the male testosterone in the world, and how sports are so civilized in a way. And then my whole family's big sports. I was always into art, but I can see how they're into it, and I loved how these guys can be all lined up and they're ready to go, and they're going to pulverize each other, and then the whistle blows and they're like, no, yeah, not today. And I thought about the early Olympic Games, and I thought, what a wonderful thing when it was just always war or peace. And then you have these games where you're competing, but you have to play fair. Got to have rules. And I guess it all kind of ties into things we're all thinking about these days. But that I would share that with these young ladies a little bit. It wasn't just about, oh, men are bad. I mean, I love men, some of them more than others. But I know, when I did this exhibition of Abraham Lincoln, I first called it My Affair with Abraham Lincoln. And then I said, yeah, and one of my friends said, good thing he's dead, Roz. That's true. But anyway, I like to just have fun with things. But art is a serious thing, too, and it's a way to communicate that is different than other ways, but I don't really know how to answer that because the men didn't talk to me as much. So it's a good question.
Well, it's interesting, too, because even here, the NFL has discovered that women are a big part of their audience going forward.
Who?
The National Football League here
Oh.
in the United States.
Yes, the
is
NFL.
Just its whole game plan to appeal more to women. And
That's
to
interesting. I didn't even really realize that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks. Love the input.
Kate had a question.
Yeah.
Was any of the work interactive at the show?
The Lincoln.
Actually, we kind of avoided that because there were internet situations. We weren't sure
okay.
it would be solid.
Okay.
Well, your Lincoln was.
Oh, the Lincoln was. I had a Lincoln that was interactive.
You had a
look at the
barcode.
piece, and it had a barcode, and it would draw at one mark at a time. But interesting enough, because a lot of us do work with things that are still on the wall or that somehow move. But all of us are really are painters from our background. We still like to have an image up that has a visual beauty to it. I mean, I'm all about that. If like my piece at the History Museum doesn't work and you can't get on the internet, I want someone to be looking at it from behind and still finding color and balance and form and all those things that I think make a beautiful painting. I mean, in some ways, every painting is full of mystery and interactivity, whether you interact with it or not. So, yeah, Peter.
So I have to admit, when I saw that picture of all the soldiers in the military, the first thing I thought of was, oh no, is there some sort of censorship? Did you feel any sort of, there may be some kind of, I guess censorship is the right word, about the work, and you should talk about or not talk about it?
We did not feel that at all, but I think we were guided pretty well by Cynthia, who has traveled internationally. So when we were first putting stuff out there, it's a great question. She said, I think we want to, the football shouldn't mind because of the way I talk about it with sports and the Olympic Games and that. But yeah, I think it's there. It's there. And even though there's a freshness and a safety in the streets, well, there is in Singapore too, but you can get caned for, doing something pretty, what we would call innocuous here. So as I've read more about it, there's an underlying stricture in some ways that we don't have here, but at the same time, I don't know, it's changing because these do not look like unhappy, but the women look happier for whatever reason that is.
Yeah, but they didn't have sexy shows on TV or anything like that. No.
And very polite. And
very polite, very conservative.
Yeah.
But women dressed sexy. You could see people going on dates and stuff.
Yeah.
But you didn't see on TV or in the news or anything, no Baywatch or anything like that.
Yeah.
But none of the artists got any credit or anything for the stuff they're showing.
No, no. And mine was probably a lot more on the edge than the others, I would say, just a little bit. And I didn't feel anything about it, but yeah. So,
what's the underlying economy of the whole country? I don't think they're sheep herders anymore. What do they do?
I don't
Make
know.
money.
Do you know, James? I honestly should know that answer, but I don't
They
know
have
it.
minerals and they
Oh, well,
have
silk,
oil,
the tourism
and
is
they-
huge.
Okay, so
silk and
Yeah.
farming and produce. They had
Okay.
fields and fields and fields of corn, cotton, and prunes.
Yeah.
That
Cotton being fabric,
pomegranates,
textiles.
pomegranates
Yes.
too.
It's so ingrained I didn't think of it, but textiles I'd say is huge still. I mean, they were the Silk Road oases, and they still, everybody comes to see them, and they still make. I mean, I bought these pillow covers. Each one's of a cat, and they're all done by hand in silk, and they're what, under $25? I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
It's,
and in the presidential symbol, the picture, you didn't see the portrait of the guy in the woman's office in the museum, but in the presidential picture, they have him surrounded by wheat and corn and pomegranates. They're big
did you
on.
see railroads while you were there?
We were on the railroad. That was a whole different story. We
we actually
But,
got stuck on the railroad
yeah.
train. We barely got home.
we barely made it to the international airport on
It
time.
was a little bit of a fiasco. So, yeah, but I think the railways, I would imagine, do you know something about it that you want to share? Because it does seem like there's infrastructure being built in that
I
country.
don't. It's just years and years ago in the
Yeah.
70s I was in Afghanistan, and one of the strangest things about Afghanistan was that there was not 1 foot of railroad. And
Whoa.
I think there still is not.
Yeah.
And
They-
so there's no commercial transport.
There's a high-speed train that we were not able to get, but it's new and everybody's taking it. That's all I know. But it's new, real new.
Yeah.
Now, we were not-
some
we were
places
on the old chugger
you
train.
couldn't fly between certain cities, and you
Yeah.
couldn't take a train. You only could take a car between certain cities.
Yeah,
Sounds familiar.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
But
Yeah.
super nice people, I must say.
Yeah, they really were. They really were. So, any other questions? Does anybody ever have? I mean, I'm sure there's just a million things, but
The language is Uzbeki, it sounds like it's Turkish. Is it based on Turkish?
I'm not sure.
Might be in the family.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't really know. I looked up a few things, so I know people ask me questions, and I go, oh, let me just talk about my art in Uzbekistan. But just the experience of being with people on the ground is so wonderful.
How long were you there?
We made ours short because it's been a real busy year for us and a lot was going on, but we were only there for like 7 days. Other people stayed for 2.5 weeks, went to Samarkand and other places. But I still got, I mean, just even being 2.5 days in Bukhara and, in Urgench, and we got I got a sense of the place. I really did. Yeah, quite fascinating.
Was it
Anyway.
a direct flight from JFK there? No.
What?
Yes,
Was it really?
to Tashkent, direct flight.
Direct, Uzbekistan. Yes, and we were going to go like Dubai or something, but it is no longer is going, and it's direct, and it was really not bad. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Rose,
Yes.
I
Virginia.
noticed you had a picture there of many porcelains. Do they still do a lot of work in porcelain?
Yeah, they
Those are
do.
beautiful plates you showed.
Gorgeous, and lots of teacups, and just one booth after another. I mean, it is a huge business. So in Bukhara and there are other places like Samarkand is supposed to be, fantastic. We didn't get
And
there.
that should save it, yeah.
A blend of old and new that is real exciting.
Very cool, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out. Great to be back here. Wonderful children.
Thank you so much, Roger.